Hello and welcome to High Caliber TV, your source for figure and model updates every Wednesday and Friday. So I apologize for not uploading anything on Wednesday. I received a book for Christmas that is the paint guide for figures of World War II. It's a relatively new release and there's a lot of really great stuff about how to use glaze mediums to slow down the drying process and allow you to blend for things like facial features and stuff like that. And so I've been reading that and trying to practice enough to get good enough to apply those techniques on these Tommy's War figures. And so needless to say, the progress on these figures has been stymied. And as you can see, all I really progressed on was the block colors on a few of the pieces on the uniforms. Now, before I move on to the next bit, I just want to say that this woolly sheepskin vest overcoat thing that the sergeant's wearing is a particularly interesting part of the diorama, and it's almost the focal point in a lot of ways. Usually the focal point is someone's face or a map that people are looking at and all crowding over or something like that, or a vehicle, or, you know, the tank tracks that have been knocked off that everyone's crowding around to repair. But in this one, it's just two figures, and both of the figures' uniforms are very monochromatic. They're just one color, that, you know, Commonwealth, khaki, sort of very colonial, green, brown, olive drab look. And this sheepskin thing really breaks that up. And it's actually almost the majority of his figure, his character, is this one garment. So I'm going to put a video up next week about how I tackle this particular part of detail, and it's going to be a lot about dry brushing and things like that. So that's something to look forward to. But what I'm going to be talking about today is this side project that I've been looking forward to do for the past couple of months as these figures have successively come out. It's going to be 3 figures for now. It's just the corner of a building in Afghanistan, or a compound like a mud wall. And there's the 3 special operators in a firefight in Afghanistan. And as you can see, the block colors on this figure are done, except for some of the detail like the hat. The flesh, obviously, I personally leave off till the very end, contrary to popular doctrine. Anyway, so stick around. I'm going to be talking briefly about my mixes for the camouflage, since I've gotten a few questions about that. So hang on. So here we have the saw gunner, and as I said, the mixes for the colors. This is an older, outdated uniform type. These guys are 2001 to 2003 uniform. So the mixes for the desert, the US Army desert camouflage here, I just used 3 main colors. And on these figures here, as you can see, he was primed a universal color, and I shifted from the gray primer from Vallejo to Desert Tan base, mainly because I wanted to be able to tell where the primer had landed, where with the gray one, you couldn't necessarily always tell, because if the resin comes out as gray, and then you prime it in gray, you know, you might miss some areas and not know. Whereas with this, or you could use green or orange or whatever you want, this allows you to see more readily. It also doubles as a quick base coat if you're lazy like me occasionally. And so this allowed me to jump right into the next process, which is the shadows. As you can see, they were the next thing to be applied. And that was achieved simply by adding a bit of storm vermin fur, or maybe it was dawnstone, I can't recall. Anyway, it was a gray, and I've decided on these figures to go with dark grays to achieve shadows. Now for the next bits, the main islands on the camouflage pattern, those blobs, are a mix of Lauren Forest and dawnstone. And I have, in previous applications with this uniform, I've used a blue instead of the green, but on this I decided that I wanted it to look a little bit more green, and I don't know what made me do that, but when I was going through the mixes in my mind, I thought gray and this green will achieve the desired effect, and they came pretty damn close, so I'm happy with the results. The fringes on the islands are this. Saddle Brown by Vallejo. It's perfect. It's what I use as the brown on not only the desert camouflage scheme, but also on the woodland camouflage scheme. So for the woodland pattern, the greens and all that, all I used was, as I said, Saddle Brown for the smaller, what would they be? They're not islands, they're squiggles, and sort of a randomized pattern. There's a lot of references for the disruptive woodland pattern in the U.S. Army. It's what they use since the 80s, so there shouldn't be any problem finding resources for that. Chaos Black or Abaddon Black, whichever you want to use. Just a black. NATO Black is, I think there's a bit of brown added to it, but in this scale, and considering the fact that there's going to be a lot of washes put over the overall camouflage scheme, we're just blocking in the colors. So if the black isn't exact right now, it won't matter. For the main green on all their equipment, I use life color. I always try and find an excuse to use life color. I don't have very many of them because they're sort of hard to get in Canada, but I really like them. And German Field Gray, I just use it straight out of the bottle, add a little bit of water for flow on successive coats, and yeah, it's perfect. I really like life color a lot. So that was the green. And then the final, I have so many tans, I can't quite recall which I used, but the tan on the woodland pattern is almost a sickly tan, like it hasn't been eating right or whatever, or it's jaundiced, I suppose is a good way of putting it. It is not a desert tan, it is its own sort of thing. So with that in mind, I used combinations of these until I arrived at a proper mix, and then went with that. So from there, we see that the rest of the blocked in colors, just on some of the packs, the butt pack and the SAW ammunition box packs, I applied with a mix of Citadel colors just to achieve that brown, sort of an ugly brown. But these are all the block colors, of course. And bear in mind, they haven't had any highlighting applied or shadows yet. And with a lot of the woodland stuff, I like to apply an overall wash and then go over it with a lot of pastels to muddle it and make it look like it's faded in the sun and worn down where it's relevant. His t-shirt's blue, and I just wanted it to look a little bit different. His keffiyeh, or the headscarf that he's wearing, this is just the base color again, and I haven't decided on a pattern. It's going to be simple, as they all are. But what they're all going to match up to is this figure. I don't know if you all recall, but he was the first that Evolution released in their Firefight series, and so I'm just working these two other figures up to him. Still really like how this guy turned out, oddly enough, so yeah, we'll go with that. The base is going to be hand done, all completely hand done. I don't plan on buying anything for it, so I'll be doing a couple videos on that as it comes around. But so far, I really like these figures. I've been posting a lot of work in progress stuff on these guys. I think I should do more of that sort of stuff. There's a lot of stuff that goes on the workbench that I never cover, and I guess that's sort of a missed opportunity since you guys seem to appreciate it when I share that kind of stuff. So thanks very much for watching. Follow us on Facebook, Pinterest, and Twitter for more stock updates and workbench stuff. We just got a new line in, but I haven't posted it on the website because we're waiting on some photographs to represent the figures. So right now it would just be text, which you can't really go by. But I am really excited about that, so I'll be talking about that a little bit next week. And yeah, thanks a lot to all the YouTubers out there again. People who subscribe, who, you know, comment or send me messages about what they're working on, any questions you have about what I'm working on. I really do appreciate that, and I like chatting about models and stuff we're working on. So yeah, thanks a lot, and I will see you next time. Bye.